This should be working. Give me a moment. Okay, awesome. Hello. So, I've been doing some thinking about what video to do next, and I decided it might be fun to do. Also, I have music on. It might be fun to do some Minecraft, because I'm very interested in redstone. So, yeah. Alright. So let's move somewhere a bit less populated. And that maybe a bit. Okay. And I will begin to explain the basics of how redstone works, because it's really fun, and you know, people have made a whole bunch of things with it just in this redstone world. They're like some small computers, some flying machines, stuff like that. So yeah, it's really interesting. Okay, so first off, I would like to clarify that I am using a texture pack, or a resource pack. Normally redstone wire, give it time. Normally redstone wire looks like this. And, this is redstone. So, basic ideas of redstone: you place it down, it connects with adjacent redstone, and it can either be on or it can be off. Now, there are several ways to turn it on or off. The most basic way to understand is a block of redstone, which you create with 9 redstone in a 3x3. But yeah, place redstone down, redstone dust is on. So yeah, certain things can turn redstone dust on, and also certain things will turn on if redstone dust is pointing to them. So for example, redstone lamps will turn on from the redstone dust, which is called being powered. So yeah, similar to, like, you know, any sort of wires or that type of thing in like other games, or even in real life if you done stuff with that in the past. As you can see, redstone won't power stuff like this because it is not pointing into them. So in order to do this, you would need to do something like that. But okay, 1 second. Okay. So, let's just kind of go through some components and explain what they do. The redstone torch is very similar to the redstone block, how it lights stuff up. But if you have redstone going into the block that the redstone torch is on, so for example, in this case the redstone torch would be on this block. So if you make redstone point into it, and then you give the redstone power, it'll make the torch turn off. Which also means that you can, say, power it with another torch. And that can be used for a lot of different things. It's really fun. A few examples, say, you could have a redstone torch. Also, yeah, you can place redstone torches on the side of blocks. And also, well, I guess I could finish the example. could do this. Now the redstone torch is making this redstone torch be turned off. And you can do that. So then if this was on, it would make this one be off. So you can just do like loops like that or something. Just like play around with it. But yeah, so redstone torches can be on any side of a block except for the bottom. And yeah, they can power things. Since this is a basic redstone guide, I won't get too in depth for it, but yeah. Let's see what's next. Redstone repeater. So the repeater has a few functions. Probably the most basic is that if you power it on, so first off, if you power redstone through it, it can keep the redstone will keep going. But if you power it, as you can see, there's a little arrow here going around. If you power it opposite to the arrow, then the redstone actually won't go through. So it can be used for yeah, stuff like that, where you need something to happen. But yeah, so that will go through. As you can see, you can also click it multiple times, and yeah, it will kind of take up. What this does is it changes the delay of it. So if you look closely at this redstone will turn on right after this redstone. It's easy to miss though. But if you do this, it'll take a tiny bit longer. And each time it'll take a little bit longer to do it. So yeah, redstone repeaters, you can manually set how long it will take for redstone to go through them, which is nice when you have like two redstone things happening at the same time, but you want one to be done before the other one. So yeah, you can manually make one take longer. So just a couple more things that you can do with them. One is we have to introduce redstone signal strength. So basically the idea of redstone signal strength is that when you power redstone dust, it'll start at a signal strength of 15, and then for each block that it goes, it will go down by 1. So 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is 1, and then as you can see, this is not powered. And say if you place a light right here, it turns on. But if you place it on the on the redstone of a power of 0, it doesn't turn on. So how do we fix this? The most common way is to use a repeater, because a repeater will make the redstone be repowered and go all the way up to 15 again, so that it can keep going. And you can place as many repeaters as you want, so you can have redstone go pretty much forever. So yeah, that, let's see. There is one more thing that repeaters can do, but I don't know if you'd be super interested in it. But basically, if you have a repeater, and it could be on or off, then you power it with another repeater. As you can see, there's this bedrock wall that appears. That means that the repeater is now locked, and if the repeater is on when it's locked, then it will stay on no matter what. And if the repeater is off when it's locked, then it will, if the repeater is off when it locks, it will stay off no matter what. So it can be nice if you want to force something to be on or force something to be off. But yeah, so that's the repeater. Then we have the comparator. This is kind of confusing, so I'll get to it later. Okay, pistons are pretty simple. First off, both of these work pretty much the same. The only difference being from the piston and the sticky piston. Well, first off, okay, so these two blocks can push stuff around. So put a block in front of a piston and power it, and as you can see, it pushes it out. But as you can see, this piston didn't pull the block back in, which means if you wanted to push it back in, you would need another piston to push it in again. To make it simpler, people added sticky pistons. So it will extend, and then it will pull the block back in once it's done being powered. And this is fun for like some piston doors and stuff like that. I might make some tutorials for those later. But yeah. So those are the basics of pistons and sticky pistons. There are a few weird things having to do with them, but it's pretty confusing and I don't really understand it that much. So yeah. Then slime blocks and honey blocks aren't so much redstone blocks, but they are on the redstone tab, so I might as well explain how they work. So slime blocks and honey blocks, basically, if a sticky piston pushes like one of these, it will only push that one block. But say that you want it to be pushing like multiple blocks at a time, or like, yeah, say you want to push, say, 9 blocks instead, or even just like 4 blocks like this. It would be kind of hard to push these 4 blocks because just one piston will only push 1 block, so you would need 1 piston on each of these blocks. But that would mean that you would need to individually power all of them, and it can get confusing and stuff. So with slime and honey blocks, you can do that, and the slime blocks will stick to each other. So now if we power it, they all move together. The cool thing is, slime blocks also stick to blocks next to them, which means now we can move these 4 blocks using slime blocks. So yeah, that's what slime blocks are for. Honey blocks work very similarly, where if you have a bunch of them and push them with a piston, or mostly we use sticky pistons for it, but you could also have them be pushed by a normal piston. Yeah, so push them with a piston and they all move together. The only difference is that honey blocks don't stick to slime blocks, and slime blocks don't stick to honey blocks. So if we do that, these just slide right past each other. So yeah, there we go with slime blocks and honey blocks. Okay, so the observer, I'm actually going to leave the sticky piston here for this one. The observer, it will let a output out here out when the block in front of it changes or does something else. So do that. The block in front of it has become a light, so it turns on. That will keep happening. It also works if something changes about the block. So say you have a door. If you open the door, then it will activate, and if you close the door, then it will activate. And it works for most things like that, where blocks change. So it's really useful for things like, say you want it to be able to sense when something happens and do it more accurately. So yeah. Actually, I'm going to hang on to that. Okay. Where was I? Oh, hopper. Awesome. So hoppers have a bit of a different use than a lot of them, like than a lot of these other ones. They're a bit like pistons, where they move stuff around. But hoppers, they move items around. So hoppers can look like either like this, where it's like a funnel going downwards, or they can look like this, when it's like a funnel that curves to the side. And what they will do is, if there's a chest or something, in front of them, and you drop items in the top, then they will suck in the item, move it through their inventory, and put it into the chest. But they can also put it, say, into other hoppers. So if you want to send a item right here, you want to drop it in, and you want to move it way over here, then you can do it like that. Also, if you're wondering how I place stuff on other stuff without opening up the inventory, you just hold shift to do that. But yeah, so they can accept stuff that's dropped in, then it will be moved over here. But they can also accept stuff that's put in something that they're on top of, or that they're under. So say I put some concrete into here, it will suck it out of the chest, move it along each of these hoppers, and then put it all into here. So yeah, it's really nice for, say, like mob farms, or if you're like blowing up some TNT and you want all the items to go into one spot, you can do that. So yeah, I really like hoppers. Okay, now let's do these together. Dispensers and droppers. Let's do droppers first. So, droppers are very simple. If they have an item inside of them, and they are powered, then they will shoot the item out. They will drop it, basically. So yeah, that's the basic idea of them. One cool thing about them, though, is that they will, if there is a storage block right in front of them, say like a chest, then instead of dropping the items onto the ground, they will drop the items straight into the storage unit. So did it again, now there's 3, again, now there's 4. So they're a bit similar to hoppers, except you can sort of control how much goes through, and also they're not able to suck stuff into them through the top. Then there are dispensers. So dispensers are pretty similar to droppers, except they're not able to put stuff into, into storage units. If you do that, then it'll just pop out. Dispensers, but dispensers have other uses. Because for certain things, like, say, projectiles, like arrows or splash potions, if you power it, it will shoot it. Oh, whoops. Yeah, and you can get it going really fast. So, yeah, that's what that's for. It's generally used for defensive systems. It can also be used for shooting out TNT. And, I don't usually use them that much, but, they can also be used to place minecarts on rails. So if you wanted to make a automatic train system or something, and you have a rail going by like this, then you can do that, and now the minecart is on the track. So yeah, that's very nice. Okay, let's clear out my inventory a little bit, because it's getting kind of cluttered. Let's keep these, though. Okay. Now we have the lectern. Lecterns aren't used that much. You can put a book on them. Book. If you have a book and quill, you can say, write some stuff in here. And then you can sign and then you can put it on. And then if you, I'm going to try to position myself so that you can see this. If you look at the corner of my screen, when we turn the page, it turns on the redstone for just a split second. And that's not used that much, but it can be used, say, if you want to like make a trap, or if you want there to be like a shop or something. But yeah. So, oh, target blocks. Okay, so target blocks, they are another sensor block similar to the electron. Well, if something hits them, then they will let out a redstone light. But as you can see, when I hit closer to the edge, the light was much darker. But when I hit closer to the center, it was pretty bright. Remember what I was telling you about redstone signals earlier? These will actually let out light depending on how good the redstone signal is. Or it'll let out, it will let out a redstone signal that depends on how close we got to the center. So it's really nice for archery mini games, or maybe like a hidden entrance to something. Gotta hit like 2 bullseyes or something. So yeah, that's really nice. And they can get all sorts of projectiles like splash potions or rockets or something, not just arrows. Okay, now levels. Levels are something that I use a whole bunch. Levels are fairly simple, much more simple than a lot of the stuff you've been doing so far. Basically, if you flick them on, then they let out redstone. If you flick them off, then they don't let out redstone. And I'm probably going to be using these as examples for like stuff being on or off for most of these things, because they're just really easy to use and manipulate. So yeah, lightning rods, they don't do much with redstone, but if lightning strikes them, then they give a redstone light. Then they give redstone signals. So yeah, daylight sensor or daylight detector is very fun. So the sun's not actually moving in my world, but what they do is they let out a redstone signal. Well, first off, you can right-click them to be on day mode or night mode. If they're on day mode, they will let out a redstone signal that's brighter, like that's stronger, the higher up the sun is in the sky. And if it's on night mode, it will let one out that's stronger the higher the moon is in the sky. And since the moon's not in the sky, there's no light. But say we make the time be night. Now, as you can see, the redstone's on. Oh, but monsters are spawning really fast, so let's change that. Oh, I forgot I had the... Okay, sorry about that. Sorry to anyone with arachnophobia. Let me turn those off. Okay. I just had some texture packs that I forgot to turn off, and... Okay. So now I gotta deal with these guys everywhere, but at least I'm not in survival. Okay, but that noise is gonna be annoying. One moment. There we go. Okay. So that was the daylight sensor. Now we have the daylight detector. Now we have the skulk sensor. And the skulk sensor will activate if it hears any sound. So for example, the sound of us walking, the sound of redstone being placed down, and I believe it will give a different redstone power level depending on what type of sound it hears. So it's very useful for like if you wanted a house that is protected against intruders, or if you wanted to maybe make a like check if caves are safe or something like that. But yeah, it's really fun. Yeah, very nice. Oh, I don't like the sound it makes when you break it though. That's creepy. Alright, tripwire hooks. So, I don't know if you knew this, because I know I didn't when I started playing, but you can place string on the ground. And, it doesn't seem like it would do much, but, with tripwire hooks, you can actually do quite a bit with it. So, tripwires, if you connect them together like this, then, when you step on them, when you step on the string in between them, then, the redstone will, then both of these blocks will give redstone signals. So as you can see, I'm stepping on it. Both of these redstone signals are on because these blocks are giving them. But then if I step off, they both turn off. So yeah, it's made to be a very sneaky way of like checking if someone's there, so you can like have a intruder alarm or something like that. I don't use them that much, but yeah, they are very fun and satisfying to use, so. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know it made that sound when it broke. That's actually pretty cool. And that's actually the sound that happens when the string breaks. One cool thing that I forgot to say is that if you have this, and someone notices it and they break it, the redstone will turn on. So, yeah, if they try to get rid of the string, it'll still activate, so it's really good for intruder alarms and traps and stuff, for that reason. Okay, trapped chests. I'm gonna have it be up here. Trapped chests look very similar to normal chests, but they have a slightly reddish tinge around their latch. So as you can see, that's a normal chest, that's a trap chest. And what it does is, when you open it, it lets out a tiny bit of redstone. It's really hard to see, but as you may remember from before, you can put down a repeater on weak redstone to make it strong again. If we do that, as you can see, the repeater turns on. So again, really good for traps, or if you don't want anyone stealing your stuff. TNT, well, pretty much, you probably know how this works. If you give it a redstone signal, then it turns on, and then it explodes. So yeah, redstone lamps. There are these lights we were talking about earlier. If redstone is going into them, they're on. Otherwise, they're off. Note blocks. Okay, now note blocks are fun. So you can right-click a note block. Well, first off, so a note block has a bunch of different notes that it can do, and it has a bunch of different instruments. The instruments depend on what blocks it's on. So if I grab, say, like stone, then I also grab, like, glass. If I right-click the one that's on the glass, sounds like sticks or something. If I right-click the one that's on the stone, well, that's not a good example. I don't really remember all the blocks that it reacts to, but... Oh, there we go. It's like a maraca or something. But yeah, you right-click it and you can change the note. It's still rather actually wood will probably make a better sound. There you go, now it actually sounds like music. But yeah, so you can right click it to change the note, and then if you put redstone into it, it will do that note. So yeah, people have made like huge note block music and stuff and songs. So if you're interested in that, go for it. It sounds awesome. So yeah, I've always wanted to do something like that. But yeah. So those are note blocks. Then we have a bunch of buttons. We have 2 stone buttons and a bunch of wood buttons. Now let me just double check. Okay. So both of the stone buttons are exactly the same except for how they look. So if you prefer one look over the other, then you can't do that one. I'm just going to do the two original ones, stone button and oak button. So these two have slight differences. One is that the oak button lasts. Also, they have slightly different sound effects. So versus. So whichever one you prefer from that, but also the stone button we press down for 1 second, and the wood button will be pressed down for 1.5 seconds, if I remember correctly. So yeah, as you can see, it's just a little bit longer. Also, if you have a bow, oh, here we go. If you have a bow, stone buttons, shoot them with an arrow, nothing happens. But if you shoot a wooden button with an arrow, it presses it down, and it holds it down as well. So that was kind of what people used before on target blocks. But yeah, now we have target blocks, so we don't need to worry about it that much. But yeah, buttons will generally be used for just like input. Now we have the third main form of input, pressure plates. Now we have 4 main types of pressure plates. First off, we have stone and black stone pressure plates, but they both work the same. Then we have stone, gold, or we have stone pressure plate, light-weighted pressure plate, heavy-weighted pressure plate, and oak pressure plate. Now, these have a few differences. First off, let's do the stone and then the oak. So yeah, let's do it in this order, because the weighted pressure plates are a bit weirder. But, so both the stone and the oak, as you can see, they sound a bit different, but they work pretty similarly, stay down for the same amount of time. The only difference is that if you put a item or an arrow or something like that on a stone pressure plate, nothing will happen. But it'll push a wood pressure plate down. So if you want something like sense if an item's there, or if it's been shot by an arrow or something like that, then you can do that. It's also nice for if you want a door to open automatically, because yeah, so that's really nice. So that's the basic idea of how pressure plate works, and when it triggers, it will let out a full redstone signal. And these ones are a bit more difficult. These ones let out a redstone signal depending on how many creatures are on there. So as you can see, this redstone signal is much darker than this redstone signal. I wonder, oh awesome, so you can light it up with items. But if we put more things on it, then it will actually get brighter. So if I just make a bunch of redstone dust, and I keep putting more on here, as you can see, the redstone is slowly getting brighter. And if I finish putting the whole stack, so yeah, if we do this, then it starts to get brighter. Then it gets darker because the items clump together, which is sort of a bug, but yeah. So that's the idea of those. I wish there was a better way to show it. I guess I could use like arrows. So yeah, it starts out really dark with just one, then we get another one, and as we keep putting arrows down, the redstone is slowly getting lighter. So it's nice for measuring the amount of creatures on something, or the amount of items, or something like that. So yeah, pretty nice. Yeah. Now we have doors. So why are doors on this list, you might be wondering? Well, first off, there are 2 main types of doors and 2 main types of trapdoors. Though the normal ones, which you can open on your own. Then there are the iron ones, which you can't right click to open. And the only way to open these is with redstone. So if there's redstone going into any door or any trapdoor, then it will open. So it's nice for if you want something like a automatic opening system. A common thing that someone will do is place a pressure plate in front of a door, and now it opens for them, so they don't need to worry about right-clicking each time. So yeah, that's what doors do. That's what iron doors are for. Not used super often, but they are pretty nice. Then the only reason the fence gates are on here is because you can do the same thing with them. I've only ever used fence gates in survival, but yeah, you can open them with redstone. So yeah, that's the whole redstone tab. I could go through some of these, like some of the minecart stuff, but minecarts aren't used that much in redstone, so unless you want me to do like a dedicated oil logic episode, I'll probably just end it here. But yeah, hope I explained it pretty well. If you want, like, I can give more in-depth redstone tutorials in the future. Just let me know. So yeah, see ya. Have a good day.